I'm feeling like a brand new me.
Hey, and welcome to the CREEK midweek student podcast, where we help you become more like Jesus. I'm your host, Pastor Tommy, and today I'm joined by our student discipleship director, Jenna, and we are excited this week to be talking about the joy of emptying ourselves the way that Jesus did. So let's dive right in. Well, Jenna, great job tonight. Thank you so much for unpacking week 3 of Joy TBD. I know it's a little nerve-wracking still for you to be up in front of people, and yet it really shouldn't be at this point because you are so loved by so many people. But you just keep doing an incredible job. So unfortunately, you're just going to keep getting reps on that. So,
oh boy.
But you did an awesome job of unpacking, again, Joy TBD week 3, and really talking about this concept of finding joy in emptying ourselves. And your main thought was that emptying ourselves is not about losing something. It's about experiencing joy. And that the way that in Philippians 2, which is the passage that you unpacked, that the Apostle Paul tells us that's what Jesus experienced by emptying himself, and that we are called to emulate and do the exact same thing. One of the things that really it started to make me think about while you were teaching was because my wife, Mindy, and I, we have this conversation all the time about like a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. I think in our culture, everything is so me, like take as much time and energy as you can, like, don't give anything away because really, well, you can, but only if you're going to get likes from it, right? And so it's like all about building our own kingdom, all about building our own brand, so to speak. And so in a culture that is constantly like me oriented, that Jesus comes in and actually tells us, no, we will experience joy by not thinking with this scarcity mindset, meaning like there's not enough for everyone. There's not enough to go around. And so we have to hoard for ourselves. But that actually he promises us kind of the opposite, that he will provide for us. And so how would a student who is like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and yet it makes sense that there's only so many hours in a day. So how can I start to get out of that scarcity mindset and trust that Jesus will provide an abundance in our lives?
Yeah, I think that it makes sense that they think that way. Like there are only so many hours in a day. And that is kind of what our society tells us is like, hold on to what's yours. Like you don't want to let too much go or you're going to end up with nothing. But like you said, that's not the way of Jesus. Like God is going to take whatever we give him and he's going to do something beautiful with it. I think also part of it is like they just have to start doing it. Like it does feel like you're losing something at first. You'll feel like, oh man, I'm missing out on this or I'm missing out of that. But then eventually they will learn like, actually that brought me more joy than it felt like I was losing. And yeah, they only have a certain amount of things to give. But when they start giving just 1 or 2 of those at a time, like we're not asking them to give up every single hour of their day right now. We're not saying like, hey, quit everything that you do, quit sports and just focus on meeting the needs of others. No, we're saying like, take what you already do have, take the moments that you can take advantage of, and then turn those around into putting other people's needs above your own. So that way it's coming from a place of love and not a place of selfishness.
Yeah. We as a team read a book a long time ago called Atomic Habits. And I'm sure you remember from this that he talks about that you can't improve a habit that you don't already have. Right. Mm-hmm. And so certainly if someone has this big picture of, I got to give away everything and I've got to start way out there, well, that's not really realistic. We have to start small so that we can then grow from that. But I love that you kind of unpacked that even for us as you were talking about your own story of starting to contribute here at the CREEK and how, it at first was kind of hard because you'd rather be at home under a cozy blanket on a snowy day than being here at the CREEK. And I think we got that picture of, it's going to cost us something. We talked about that in the first week of this series too. But what I would love for you to be able to share with students is what is the joy that has been on the other side of that? What are the ways that now that you've been serving here at the CREEK for over 6 years that you're like, I wouldn't trade any of it because look at all of the joy that Jesus has brought me as a result of that?
I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is just the relationships that I've built here. Like I have so much immense joy from the people around me that I get to serve next to and that love me and pour into me. I also think a big part of that is just that I feel like when you lead other people, it is leading you closer to Jesus. Like it feels like, man, I'm losing out on this thing, but really like it's not, it is leading me closer to Jesus. Like once I started serving here and started pouring out, it helped my relationship with Jesus because I started learning more and I started picking up different habits because as you're leading people in that, you want to be modeling that for them too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really leads to one of the other quotes that I loved from yours. You said that we choose love over selfishness. That's really what it is to empty ourselves. And so give us a little bit of a picture of like, what are the ways in which you have been like working hard to practice that yourself? Or maybe even ways that you've seen others around you doing that and that you've been on the receiving end even, because that's powerful sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the big ways is choosing not to be right all the time. That's a really hard one for me because I'm like, man, I want to be seen as competent. And growing up, it was like, oh, you don't admit you're wrong. Like that's just weakness. And so trying to choose that of like, is this something that I need to hold on to? Is this like the hill that I need to die on? Or is this something that I can choose to put the other person's needs first? Like I model that in my marriage. I've been trying to be really intentional about that with my kids, being like, okay, how can I love them better right now? Like inside, my thought is like, wow, it's so annoying that you inconvenienced me. But how can I think of it like, what did they need from me? How can I better model for them what it looks like to put their needs above my own right now? And similarly, even at work, like I'm trying to pour into those around me of like, hey, like, I don't want to have to always be right. I want to give away those opportunities for other people to lead and other people to shepherd others well.
How do you find the line, I guess, right? This is a hard question, honestly, because it's so difficult to, again, not even necessarily dipping back into that scarcity mindset or there's not enough to go around. But I think as we see happen all the time, the enemy's like, I'm going to take a good thing and make it really bad. And for you as an Enneagram 2, which is the helper, like someone who is just naturally wired to want to put yourself last and like help others around you, how do you find that line of like, no, it's actually important for me to also advocate for myself at times?
This is a really hard one for me. It's really tricky because I would rather kind of run myself into the ground than inconvenience anybody. But I also sometimes have to ask myself the question of like, am I doing this for the benefit of other people, or am I doing it because I want to feel good about what I'm doing? And I also just really need to listen to my body. Like if I am like, man, I'm really run down, I know I need to find ways to have other life-giving activities in my life. Like I can pour out, but I can't pour out if I'm not resting in Jesus. And I also have a community of people around me that will tell me, they'll see it in me when they're like, hey, seems like you're kind of putting yourself last. Like, what do you need right now? And so I think it's beautiful to surround yourself with people that know you well enough to be able to call that out in you and make sure that you're also taking care of yourself, because it can be easy to be like, oh, just think about everybody else and not myself. Like I'll be fine, but eventually that will pile up and I won't be fine.
Yeah, man, that's so good. I think there will be a percentage of students. A lot of us, it's more about, nope, I just got to learn to get outside myself, right? There will be a percentage of students that it's a journey of also recognizing how do I, again, advocate for myself and to start to see in terms of the best way I can care for people around me is by making sure that I'm caring for myself well so that I can continue to care for them too. And so I think it's a really, really great reminder for some that it's like, no, actually caring for yourself well is going to give you an opportunity to care for them well. We actually, Mindy and I say that about date nights with our kids of like, trust us, we are going to be better parents for you guys if we, on a regular basis, just go spend some time, just the two of us. And it can feel selfish at times. But ultimately, that is one of the ways that we make sure we continue to have the energy to pour ourselves out. One of the other quotes that I really loved you said was that serving isn't losing. There are times where maybe it feels like, okay, fine, I'll serve others, but that's kind of me losing. How can you have this mindset of actually, no, Jesus tells us that the last will be first. And so if we want to be more like Christ, that's actually the position that we ought to take for ourselves. But if someone is struggling with this idea of if I'm going to do that, that means I'm losing in some capacity, how would you encourage them to be able to shift that mindset?
I think talking about like doing everything for the Lord too. Like if you're doing it out of a place of like, oh, I really, really don't want to be doing this. I'm thinking like, is that serving well? Is that something that I'm trying to do to serve God in this way and love other people? Or is that like, if you do have that mindset, it does feel like you're losing something. But if you're thinking about it in the way of like, I want to do this to honor God because everything that I do should be coming from this place of like, he loved us first. And so I want to go and love other people. That is a mindset that we have to have.
Yeah, so good. And you follow that up with this idea that it's actually the way to joy because it's the way of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such a good line. How can we maybe remind ourselves when it doesn't feel the best that like, no, actually, I think if I persevere, if I continue to do this, that there is indeed going to be joy at some point along the way, because again, that's the way of Jesus.
I think journaling is a really helpful tool for this. I talk about this a lot in our small group, like those moments that you have where you see it, where you're like, that's it. That's the joy I'm talking about. Or like, man, I see what they were talking about when they talk about emptying yourself. Write those things down so you can call back to them. Like we talk about like winter camp and all of these other areas where it's like you leave kind of on this high because you got to see all the things that God was doing in your life. And then you leave and you kind of forget that feeling. But I think it's really important to write those things down so you can come back to them later and use those as an anchor to be like, no, I know the goodness that comes from this because I've seen it before and I know I'm going to see it again.
So good. All right. You wrote 4 different versions of this sermon.
Yep.
Because I love that, honestly, because it's like I'm trying to find what is the heart of what God is really trying to say through this, and maybe some, wrestling that it was going on there in some really good ways. But knowing that you wrote 4 different versions of this sermon, what are some of the things that you're like, I really wish that I could have had some time to unpack that, but I was preaching 1 sermon tonight, not 4.
Yep. I think a big thing that I talked about in the other 4 sermons that I wrote was just what service looks like what emptying yourself practically looks like, because I think a lot of the time we think it needs to be this massive thing where it's like, I'm going to give up all $1,000 that I've earned in my bank account to go do this good thing, or I am going to sacrifice and quit the sport that I love so I can come and lead a small group. Like it doesn't have to be that big. It could be just our everyday things. Like I spent a lot of time in those sermons talking about like, what would it look like if it was just like, if we had the mindset of loving others well and wanting to serve others, but it was like we did that in our everyday activities. Like I have to fold laundry, I'm going to do that loving and praying for other people. Or I have to drive to school every single day. How do I take those moments and use those to glorify God? Like what areas in our life could we be serving in that we're not taking advantage of right now? It doesn't have to be something like a new habit that you create. It could be something that you're already in right now. And just something that you're learning to utilize better.
It's really good. So yeah, we're midweek at this point. It's a few days down the road. And the challenge that you gave to everyone was, number 1, to read Philippians 2:1-4 every single day. So students, if you haven't been doing that, here's your chance. Make sure you're reading that. I might even add to it too, to like add a little spice to it, is maybe try to read it in a different version every day too. I love that you read it out of the Message paraphrase, but then also out of the NLT, and like just see what are some of the little subtle differences. But then you also challenged them and us to find one way every single day to get outside of ourselves, to empty ourselves for the sake of someone else.
Yeah.
For students who have maybe had a little bit of taste of success within that, what are maybe a few of the other ways that they may have an opportunity to try some things that maybe they haven't tried yet? And it's like, hey, here's some practical ways that you could do this week.
I think maybe being in your schools, like, what does it look like to give up sitting with your friends for one day and you could invite someone new to sit with you? Or maybe you walk the halls and you just pray over all the students that are in the building and not there. Pray for the kids who maybe have more going on in their lives that they let on. Or maybe another way is like, write one of your favorite teachers a note of encouragement, or maybe one of your least favorite teachers. Maybe write them something and be like, hey, like, I just want to let you know that I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful that you show up every day, because showing up every day in a high school classroom could probably be hard sometimes. Or maybe it's setting aside your pride at home. It's like, man, this thing is hurting my feelings and I want to let someone know about it. Like, let down your wall and maybe let some people into that. Apologize. Be the first person to apologize to your parents when you have an argument. Just some really small ways that might feel really, really hard, but they can make a big impact in how we respond to things and how we love other people around us.
Man, I think that's so good. Like, it is the small things that end up shaping us in some pretty incredible ways. That's the journey that I've been on recently, and I've talked about that for sure. I think one of the things for me too that I've been trying in that is trying to do these things, trying to find ways to serve other people I think it is Pastor John Mark Comer that challenges this of like trying to do it in a way of secrecy, just meaning like I'm going to do something really kind and then I'm going to get nothing back from it because I'm not even going to call attention to the fact that I have done it. Right.
Yeah.
That's been hard, honestly, because I'm a words of affirmation guy. And so there's so many moments where I'm like, will you just notice the thing that I'm trying to do for you? Right.
Yeah.
And yet in trying to just do it because it's like I get the opportunity to serve Jesus in that. And even if that person doesn't know, well, then it still impacts me in that kind of a way. Have you ever experienced anything like that where like you found out that, oh, that person was doing this for me? And it was like, oh, that was wildly impactful. But for the longest time, you didn't even realize that it was something that they were doing.
Honestly, I think about like Taylor, my husband. He does things like that all the time. I have tried to be a lot more intentional about noticing them, but there's a lot of times that he'll be like, oh, he cleaned the kitchen and I didn't notice, or he went to the store for me and I didn't notice, or it could be people praying for me. That's something that has been on my heart a lot lately is I know there's a lot of people who have been praying for me for years and I don't even know it. Like they have been interceding on my behalf. And I've talked to people that I've been like, oh, here are the things I'm going through. And then when they tell me like, I have been praying for that for you for so long, like that's a powerful moment to be like, I had no idea the love and care that you were putting into that and the intentionality you were putting towards praying for me for this specific thing that I didn't even know I would be coming up against. But they still took it upon themselves to love me well and pray for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's awesome just to be reminded that even if we are not getting the glory for it right now, actually, that's kind of the point, right? But that doesn't mean that the other person won't be blessed by it at some point. So Jenna, truly incredible job. I'm really proud of you for the way that you approached this one. And I think we walked away with some really, really great things. Hope in our prayer is that throughout this entire series that students have been challenged to let go of the idea of just like temporary happiness that we all have this tendency to pursue through external means. And let me buy the next thing, or let me get a few more likes on my post or whatever it might be, and to give up this endless pursuit of just these momentary happiness, momentary hits of happiness in favor of being able to play the long game, which is hard in our culture, but being able to understand that like, no, Jesus wants to bring about lasting true joy by making a few of these different mindset shifts. And so thanks for finishing out this series really, really well.
Yeah, thank you.
Excited to see what's next.
Well, that's all for us here at the CREEK midweek. Students, we hope to see you back here again soon. But before we go, a blessing. Students, may you follow the example of Jesus by emptying yourselves for the sake of others. May you abandon the scarcity mindset of the world around us in favor of trusting the abundance that Christ offers. May these shifts help you to experience true and lasting joy as you become more like Jesus, so that he would shine through you until it is in Castle Rock as it is in heaven. Amen. We'll see you again soon.
I'm feeling